Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Celestial Tree, an astrologer, intuitive reader, and soul psychologist. So today we are going to be talking about your horoscopes for the upcoming Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo, and then after the 15th it's in Leo. Before I get started, just a gentle reminder that if you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so on my website at celestialhealingrealm.com, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more spiritual tips and astrology updates as well. So, Mercury is going to be retrograde in the sign of Virgo from the 4th of August, where it will station retrograde, and then it will retrograde back into the sign of Leo around August 15th. So, yeah, then it will come out of retrograde in Leo on the 28th of August. So, wherever Virgo is in your chart is where you're going to be reviewing and reassessing where you're at. And mainly reflecting on your circumstances in that area. And then after the 15th, the focus will shift onto reviewing the area of your chart that is ruled by Leo. So here's how that is going to look for each sign. And please do remember to listen to your sun sign and your rising sign as well. Aries suns and Aries risings. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your 6th house of work, physical health, and day-to-day routines as well. And then after the 15th, it will shift back into that 5th house space of creative expression, children, and romance, and also pleasure as well. So between the 4th and the 15th, I was about to say 16th then, this is my mum's birthday, that's why. Between the 4th and the 15th, there might be some problems at work, issues with co-workers, misunderstandings, things like emails, documents could sort of have mistakes in them, and you'd have to sort of check them over and over again. And even meeting deadlines can prove difficult during Mercury retrograde. So yeah, things might not be going as smoothly as you would like at work. It might feel like you're repeating yourself a lot, which might kind of make you feel like you want to tear your hair out a little bit. And just remember that this is temporary. These frustrations will pass at some point, and try to sort of focus as best you can on stress management. And the reason I say this is because the 6th house also rules over physical health. So it is really important that you do take care of your physical body and you prioritize stress reduction and stress management. So yeah, just go easy, okay? After the 15th, you might find the frustrations shift away from work and onto your creative pursuits, your hobbies, your passions, as well as your dating life. There might be some miscommunications, misunderstandings with love interests. I said love interests because I'm talking to Aries right now. So it's got to be plural. The 5th house also rules over children. So if you do have children, they might seem a little bit more rebellious than usual during the last 2 weeks of Mercury retrograde. Remember to slow down, reflect, give yourself and your children the utmost patience over the next few weeks. Then after the 28th, things should feel clearer and go a lot smoother. Taurus suns and Taurus risings. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your 5th house of creativity and romance and children. And then after the 15th, the focus will shift onto that 4th house space, home matters, family matters, residence matters, personal life matters. So yeah, your personal projects and things like that. So between the 4th and the 15th of August, your creative pursuits might be the cause of some frustrations. You might not be super interested and super motivated to pursue your passions, pursue your hobbies and things like that. And you could also find yourself having some arguments with a romantic interest or somebody that you're dating at the moment. If you do have children, you could also end up having small arguments with them as well. Just remember to soften yourself, soften your approach to your loved ones while Mercury is retrograde, especially in the first part of in the fifth house part of your chart. After the 15th, you might find that things are going wrong in the home, or there could be some breakages with like laptops and appliances just not working as well as they usually do. They could stop working altogether as well. So yeah, you might also find it quite difficult to deal with family after the 15th as well. Family problems and issues with the family might feel just super draining. So yeah, these issues and frustrations should die down after the 28th of August. So try and be patient with yourself and with your family until then. Gemini suns and my fellow Gemini risings. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your fourth house of home, family, and residence. And then after the 15th, the focus will shift to that third house space. So things like communication, learning, local travel, and siblings. So between the 4th and the 15th, you might be feeling kind of annoyed with members of your family, or feeling like you can't be bothered for all the family drama, even though drama is usually right up your street. There might be some arguments here and there with family members, as well as some issues and some mishaps when it comes to like the home. So what I mean by that is your laptop could suddenly stop working, or your appliances could slow down and not work so well, which is really annoying. I know, the last thing you need. But just know that this is temporary. Try to focus on managing your stress so that you don't feel like overwhelmed and burnt out. So yeah, after the 15th, there might be some difficulty with travel, especially local travel, and communication, as Mercury retrogrades into that third house space. You could, so if you have a car, you might end up having some problems. If you take the train and the trains are cancelled and delayed, just know that you are not going crazy. It is just the energy, Mercury retrograde. Sometimes these things can happen. You've got to kind of roll the punches, so to speak, and that's why it's important to focus on stress reduction and stress management, so that your mind and your body are better equipped to deal with life when it's life in. So yeah, after the 28th, things should start to smoothen out and feel right again. But until then, remember to just be patient with yourself and be patient with those around you as well. Cancerians, Cancer suns, and Cancer risings. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your third house of communication, learning, siblings, and also local travel as well. And then after the 15th, the focus will be more on that second house of income, self-worth, talents, those sorts of things. So between the 4th and the 15th, there might be some issues with communication. You might feel like you're misunderstanding people, or people are misunderstanding you. It might also feel like, things that you say, or messages that you send, or emails that you send, things tend to get like lost in translation, or there are like mistakes, or spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, and things like that. So that can be quite annoying. It is also possible that you could have a little argument with a sibling, if you have any siblings, and travel could also be a source of frustration. So if you have a car, there could be car troubles between the 4th and the 15th. If you take the train, there could be train delays, and things like that. So try to take it slow and make sure that you leave enough time, extra time, not just time, but extra time if you're traveling anywhere. And then after the 15th, your finances and how you monetize your talents could be a source of frustration. things like unexpected expenses, delays in receiving payment. That's also possible, which is really, really annoying. It is literally like last thing that you need. So what I would say is it is a good time to slow down, rebudget. And if you do have an old way of making money that it doesn't necessarily have had to been a successful way, but if there was an old way of making money that you kind of put down, it might be a good time to revisit that and give it sort of a second chance, as it could turn out more lucrative than it had done before. Leo suns and Leo risings. This Mercury retrograde will start out in your house of money, income, and self-worth, in that second house space. And then after the 15th, it will retrograde into your first house. And the first house rules over things like your life path, your identity, and your physical body as well. So between the 4th and the 15th, life might be feeling a little bit frustrating, especially when it comes to money and expenses. There could be some unexpected payments that you need to make, or even a delay in receiving payments as well. Either way, you could find yourself kind of revisiting old money matters, things that you thought had been solved in the past. And I feel like it's actually the perfect time for you to review your budget and put more energy into your side hustles, because I know you have some. So that is probably a good idea. And after the 15th, when Mercury retrogrades into that first house space, and I've been telling a lot of my Leo clients that I've been trying to like drive home that it is temporary. Because when Mercury is retrograde in that first house space, it can feel like everything that can go wrong is going wrong. And it can feel like loved ones, family, friends, partners can get under your skin a lot more than, not than usual, but just a lot more. And I just want you guys to remember that you are human. Try to take a step back and reflect, especially after the 15th, reflect on where you are, what you can do to better manage your stress as well. And try to have patience with yourself in the last 2 weeks of this retrograde, and patience with other people as well. After the 28th, things could be feeling a lot better. You might be feeling a lot more yourself, and your mind could be feeling a lot more clearer as well. Virgo suns and Virgo risings. Mercury will be retrograde in your first house of identity. Your first house also rules over life path and your physical body as well. Then after the 15th, the focus will shift more onto 12th house matters, so mental health, spirituality, and rest as well. So between the 4th and the 15th, I've spoken to a couple of my clients who, especially their Virgo risings, it might feel like a time where everything seems to get on top of you between the 4th and the 15th. You might be feeling quite impatient. You might be feeling like things are getting under your skin. People are taking things the wrong way. And it can just feel like everything is going a bit, I don't want to say topsy-turvy, but it just feels like things are like turned on their head. And what I would encourage is that you are patient with yourself, give yourself grace, and try not to overload yourself as well. I know that it's easier said than done, especially as Virgos, but try to slow down and reorient yourself. I never can say that properly. Try to slow down and reorient yourself in the right direction, and take it slow. After the 15th, I might feel as though, because Mercury is retrograding back into that 12th house space, it might feel like you're a little bit lost or a little bit unsure of what your next steps are. You can kind of feel like things are happening, but you're like, I'm not sure what's happening, I'm not sure why it's happening. And it's a time of like brain fog. So this might be a time where what I like to call the unseen forces who weave and work their magic behind the scenes. Remember, there are things that are beyond our perception, and that is what the 12th house rules over. So when Mercury makes its way into that space on your chart, try to tap back into your intuitive space and remain flexible. Sometimes Mercury will signal to us to slow down and take stock and review where we are so that we can change our direction. And this is the biggest lesson for you, Virgos. Reassess where you are now and how far you've come, and those sort of next steps, and what you are feeling called to do, and what you're feeling called to pursue, and what you're feeling called to let go will become clearer after the 28th of August. Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings. This Mercury retrograde will begin in your 12th house of mental health, rest and spirituality. And then after the 15th, it will shift backwards into your 11th house of friends and long-term goals. So between, I always go to say before the 4th, between the 4th and the 15th, it might feel as though you're kind of in limbo a little bit. This is the house that rules over endings. So you might feel like there are unfinished tasks, unfinished business that pop up kind of out of nowhere, for you to kind of finally complete them and move on and feel lighter and less burdened as you go. And this is also the house of rest, so it might be possible that you might be finding it difficult to sleep during this period, but this is only temporary. It is a really good time to reconnect with your spirituality if you have been neglecting your spiritual body, but don't force it. Take it slow, do what feels right is what I would encourage on that. After the 15th, your mind and your spiritual space, I mean your energy is what I'm talking about, might be feeling a little less hazy, but you still might be doubting some of your like long-term goals and long-term plans for the future, because Mercury has sort of moved backwards into that 11th house space. If you do find yourself in that kind of doubtful space, then try to revisit some of your goals and restructure them, taking into account where you are now and your current circumstances. There's also a possibility of a little bit of a tiff or a small fight with a friend, so be prepared for that and know that it is nothing that can't be fixed with some good communication. Like, a lot of things can be a lot of things can be not restructured, that is not the word. A lot of things can be fixed with good communication. I don't know why that took me so long to say. But yeah, maybe wait until after the 28th to have that conversation though, because I feel like between the 15th and the 28th, tensions might still be quite high. So yeah, after the 28th, sit down with your friend if you have had a little bit of an argument with them and talk it out. Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your 11th house of friends, groups and long-term plans and goals for the future. So yeah, and then after the 15th, it will be retrograding back into that 10th house space of career, public reputation and status. So between the 4th and the 15th, you might find yourself fighting with friends or having a few misunderstandings with them. Even this is just temporary though, so if you do find yourself tearing your hair out or you're kind of at your wit's end with one of your friends or maybe even a group of friends, you'll probably be able to resolve this after the 28th of August. That being said, it is a really good time to reconnect with an old friend if the possibility is there. You might also be restructuring your long-term goals and your dreams for the future as well, between the 4th and the 15th. So make sure that when you are doing that, they are realistic and attainable. After the 15th, there could be some issues and delays at work and with your career. So you might be feeling really like unmotivated with work. But like I said before, it is temporary. If you can get through the last 2 weeks of the retrograde, then by the 28th, things will feel like they're going a lot more smoother and things will feel much more clearer with friends and also with work as well. Sagittarians, Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. This Mercury retrograde will fall first off in your 10th house of career status and reputation. And then after the 15th, the focus will shift onto that 9th house space. So higher learning, beliefs, and overseas travel as well. So between the 4th and the 15th of August, there might be a few misunderstandings or a few issues at work, especially with those in positions of authority. So managers, bosses, and things like that. You might be feeling really unmotivated to go into work and be your best self at work, because I know you always bring the best, especially in the first half of the retrograde period. You might be going to work in a bad mood. And if you do go to work with that kind of negative, in that negative space, just remind yourself that you are a human being and you will have days and even weeks that you are not feeling your best. So please give yourself some grace. And then after the 15th, there might be some issues and delays with 9th house matters, so higher learning, overseas travel. If you are traveling, think things like cancelled or delayed flights, lost luggage. And yeah, if this does happen, just remember that there are some things in life that are out of your control. And you can't control what happens all the time, but you can control how you react to things. So try to manage your stress as best you can during those last few weeks of August. Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. This Mercury retrograde will begin in your 9th house of higher learning, beliefs, and long distance travel. And then after the 15th, the focus will shift over to that 8th house space of shared resources and psychological transformations. So if you are traveling overseas between the 4th, I've just realized that one of my clients is traveling after the 4th. So anyway, I'm like, no. So yeah, if you're traveling overseas between the 4th and the 15th, just watch out for delays and miscommunications as well. So things like lost luggage, going to the wrong gate in the airport and things like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if you do find yourself stressing, take a moment to breathe. Take a step back from the situation and remain calm and try and remain grounded. Sometimes things are outside of our control, but we can control how we react to things. So just keep that in mind, please. After the 15th, when Mercury retrogrades back into that 8th house space, budget in and making some changes to how you and your partner handle your money and your shared assets might be the focus after the 15th. So this might be a time where you find yourself sitting down with a partner and being like, okay, so where are we at? What do we have? What do we not have? How can we rebudget to take into account those circumstances? This also might be a time where you are quite emotionally vulnerable, which I know for you Capricorns, that is quite scary. I'm a Capricorn moon, so I feel you on that. There might be some things that are going on beneath the surface that might lead to emotional outbursts, and I want you to just remember that you are a human being. You have the right to feel your feelings and express yourself how you see fit, as long as you're not traumatizing someone else. And remember to try and manage those feelings with a healthy dose of self-care and doing the things that you love. So if you do find yourself having an emotional outburst or you are in an emotionally vulnerable state, feel that as long as you need to, and then take up a video game or a face mask or anything that helps you unwind and return back to your body. I don't know why I said video game. I feel like video games help me to return back to my body. But yeah, any type of self-care that you feel aligns more with you, please do try to prioritize that, especially after the 15th of August. The complexities of life that present themselves during the retrograde period should clear up after the 28th of August. So just be patient with yourself and also be patient with life in general. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. I don't know what my camera is doing right now. This Mercury retrograde will start off in your 8th house of shared resources and psychological transformations, and then after the 15th you might be able to feel that shift, the shift of Mercury retrograde into that 7th house space, and the 7th house rules over relationships and partnerships and contract and marriage. So yeah, you might be feeling a little bit emotionally burnt out around this time, especially between the 4th and the 15th of August. Money wise, shared resources wise, you might be feeling like things are not going as smoothly as you would have hoped. You might be re-examining your budgets and your expenses, and that can feel like a time where you're not all there emotionally as well, like you're not feeling your best self, and that is okay. Do take the time for yourself and give yourself patience and grace to sort of work through what's going on in your mind around this time. And then after the 15th, if you are in a relationship, it might be the case that you're addressing some unresolved relationship issues with you and a partner, and trying to clear those things up so that you can both move on feeling freer and lighter. There is also a possibility of an old flame, don't get excited, an old flame returning to the scene, albeit a brief return. I feel like they're just rearing their head to kind of check on where you are in life. We know the type. So yeah, this could happen around this time. Try to focus on yourself and focus on resolving those issues with your partner and turn all your sort of love and attention inward. And then after the 28th, you should be feeling a lot more recharged and a lot more refreshed mentally as well. Pisceans, my fellow Pisces suns and Pisces risings, this Mercury retrograde will start off in your 7th house of relationships. So, yeah, and then after the 15th, the energy will shift into that sort of 6th house space of work, day-to-day routines and physical health. So you could be reconnecting with an old flame or old flames during this time. It might be a temporary reconnection, but it's a reconnection nonetheless. It's also possible that if you are in a relationship, you might be having some misunderstandings with your partner, maybe old issues that you thought were sort of dead and buried come back to the surface and they need to be addressed and released. So it might be kind of difficult trying to find the balance between giving yourself like grace and patience and also navigating unresolved issues. I don't know, it's the best way that I can explain that. So yeah, just be patient with yourself and make sure that you have enough spoons to deal with some of the things that might come up between the 4th and the 15th. Then after the 15th, there might be some issues with work, with co-workers, paperwork, emails, documents, and things like that that might need to be reviewed a few times before you submit them. There could also be a return of some small health issues. This retrograde might present you with, even though you've been trying to work through a lot of your health issues, I feel like this retrograde might present a small health issue that you can navigate, but it's kind of like reminding you where, like, just how far you've come in terms of your health. I hope that makes sense. So this is a good time to revisit some health habits that you might have dropped in order to manage some of these issues. You might have dropped them being like, I really don't have time to do that, or to look into that, or to focus on that. So you might be revisiting some health habits. And yeah, just remind yourself how far you've come, relationship wise, health wise, work wise, and remember that these things are all temporary, and a lot of these issues will start to clear up after the 28th of August. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that this video has been helpful or provided some clarity in some way. Remember to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. They're both linked in the description box below. And do message me or send me an email if you have any questions. Happy healing, everyone.